And I want to also thank those deputies who brought this motion to the floor of the Dáil this morning, because I think it's really important. Before I go on to address the substance of the motion, let me say this very, very clearly. The best defence that a worker has against the right-wing policies of this government is not just to join a trade union, but to be active in their trade union and to demand their fair share of the profits that this government are so accommodating for employers to make it. In fact, I just left the Enterprise and Employment Committee, where we're debating your sick pay legislation. 13 reasons to say, or sorry, your remote working legislation, 13 reasons to say no to a worker who wants the right to work from home. So when the Taoiseach says he's bringing forward 5 pieces of workers' rights legislation, I'm not sure that he's read all of his legislation or if he understands the import, but they most definitely are not workers' rights, not when you have codified in the law 13 reasons for an employer, 13 spurious reasons as it goes, for an employer to say no to a worker who wants to work from home or work remotely. And we all know the benefits of that. The government talk about the benefits of that, but when push comes to shove, we know whose side that you guys are on, and you are invariably on the side of employers, and you are never on the side of workers. At the start of the pandemic, Minister, you will have seen, as I saw, the low pay, precarious work being absolutely exposed. Hundreds of thousands of workers who were working in appalling conditions. Many of them were laid off, but we found when we looked at the impact on the tax take that in actual fact these workers are underemployed, they're underpaid, they're in precarious work, and they have no hope of, some of them no hope of making their rent, certainly no hope of owning a house to shore them up against the damage that you are doing to the property market and to the housing market. Minister, in your remarks you say that you're seeking to avoid a wage spiral. Imagine that now, if wages just got out of control and people could live on what they were earning like we do here in this House. Imagine if workers could simply live on the wages that they were earning, but your concern is for a wage spiral. Can I ask you, Minister, can I ask you, were you not a bit concerned when you were given 81 grand of a pay hike to Robert Watt of the potential for a knock-on consequential claim arising out of that, or were you happy that you could ring-fence that and just do that for one person? You weren't concerned a bit about the impact that that was going to have on wages. In fact, unfettered, the man seems to be allowed and granted endless pay rises. We know he's had at least 3 in the last while, and they don't come from nothing. They are granted by the government. So out of one side of your mouth, you say there's plenty of money, absolutely plenty of money for those people to whom we choose to give it, and out of the other side of your mouth, you're preaching wage restraint to low-income workers. And wage restraint, with the cost of living going the way it is, wage restraint means that workers in this state, after 40 hours of work, are making the choice between heating their homes or paying for their groceries. Your wage restraint, Minister, and the fact that you are preaching that to workers is causing workers, because of inflation, is causing workers to be in intolerable and impoverished circumstances. After 40 hours of work, 40 hours working, on their feet in many instances, not alone do you want them to work to 67, 68, 69, 80, where is it going to end? We do not know, but you also have absolutely no difficulty with them getting poverty wages for that. This motion calls for an emergency review of the minimum wage. Now, in order for you to accept that, you'd really have to accept that there is an emergency. Now, the evidence of that is all around us, but the fact that you have junior ministers from your own party, Minister, the party, I hasten to add, who, when their back was to the wall, or you believed it was, cut the minimum wage and did it nice and quickly, and you weren't worried about the impact on the broader economy then. It didn't create a single job. It merely made working people poorer. But from the same party comes the call for people to shop around. Shop around. Imagine that now, shop around. They'll be shopping around for a new government, Minister. I'm telling you that because people cannot take much more of this, and that you would come in here and preach wage restraint to people who cannot afford to heat their own homes is absolutely shocking. And I would, in the few seconds remaining to me, urge members to support the Sinn Féin amendment. We need to move towards a living wage. Your term of office is near half over, and we don't have, as yet, any concrete moves on that. Go on, Michael.